What if the key to freedom was not found in more, but in walking away from everything you do not need? Henry David Thoreau left society not because he hated it, but because he wanted to find out what truly mattered. In a cabin by the pond, a man with almost nothing discovered everything that makes life worth living. In 1845, a man named Henry David Thoreau left the noise of society and moved into a small, self-built cabin on the edge of Walden Pond. He was not escaping from life. He was running toward it. He wanted to strip life down to its essence. He wanted to know what happens when you stop chasing, stop pretending, and simply live. He wrote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately." Those words are not just poetic. They are a declaration of independence, not from government, but from distraction, from social pressure, from all the things that clutter the mind and soul. Thoreau believed that most people live lives of quiet desperation. They go through the motions, trapped by routine, debt, and expectation, but he refused to live that way. He wanted clarity. He wanted presence. He wanted to test what it means to be human when all the extras are removed. No luxury, no constant noise, just nature, silence, labor, and thought. And so, for 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days, he lived by Walden Pond, growing his own food, reflecting on life, and writing what would become one of the most influential books in American philosophy, Walden. Thoreau was not anti-society. He was pro-awareness. He believed that most people are so busy earning a living that they forget to live. So busy accumulating that they forget to ask why. He called out the way people enslave themselves to comfort, to appearances, to things they do not need and debts they cannot escape. The mass of men led lives of quiet desperation. He wrote, not because they are weak, but because they have forgotten how to choose. His choice was radical, to live with less, not as a sacrifice, but as a return to freedom, a return to nature, a return to the self. He believed that freedom is not the ability to do anything, but the ability to say no. No to what distracts, no to what costs your time and peace, no to a life that is not yours. At Walden, Thoreau built a cabin with his own hands. He grew beans. He walked in the woods. He studied the seasons. He spent time with his thoughts. But most of all, he listened to the world, to his heart, to the wisdom that only comes when life is quiet enough to hear it. This was not laziness. It was discipline. The discipline of focus, the courage to step outside the race and ask, is this really necessary? Does this make me alive? He believed that living simply does not mean living poorly. It means choosing wisely. It means refusing to trade your life for things that do not matter. His experiment was not about nature alone. It was about stripping life down until only truth remained. He wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. And what he found was that joy comes not from what you own, but from how awake you are. Not from having more, but from needing less. At Walden Pond, Thoreau did not just find peace. He found perspective, removed from the rush of cities and the demands of social life. He was able to observe the rhythms of nature, and through them, observe himself. The sun rose and set. The seasons changed. The birds sang. The snow fell. The pond froze and melted. And in these simple movements, he saw reflections of human life. Cycles, transitions, stillness, renewal. Nature taught him that life does not need to be forced, that there is wisdom in waiting, that quiet observation can reveal more than constant action. He watched ants battle like armies and frogs leap in silence. And he asked, if all of this life is unfolding so naturally, why do humans try so hard to dominate, possess, and control everything? Thoreau saw that modern life had become artificial not because of tools or progress, but because of disconnection. People were no longer living in the world, they were trying to master it. They were no longer part of nature, they were pretending to be above it. And in doing so, they lost themselves. He believed that by returning to nature, people could return to something essential, something true. But this return did not require isolation. It required intention. You could live in a city and still be connected to nature if you paid attention. If you walked instead of rushed. If you listened instead of scrolled. If you took time each day to observe the sky, to breathe fresh air, to move slowly and see the world with childlike eyes. Thoreau believed that real wealth was not measured in money, but in moments, in awareness, in presence. He wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone." That is, the less you need, the freer you become. Every possession you can live without is not a loss. It is a doorway to inner peace. He saw how society sells the idea that success means more money, more stuff, more followers, more speed. But Walden taught him the opposite. That success means depth. That meaning is not in accumulation but in attention. That the good life is not about building a castle, but about planting a garden. Not about rising above others, but about grounding yourself in what is real. Thoreau was not naive. He knew that not everyone could move to a forest. But he believed that everyone could create a space of simplicity within. That everyone could reclaim some part of their life from the demands of the world. Even if it is 1 hour of silence, one walk with no phone, one meal eaten in stillness. These small acts, he believed, are the seeds of freedom. He also believed in self-reliance, not as isolation, but as self-trust. At Walden, he learned to rely on his own hands, his own thoughts, his own rhythms. He encouraged others not to outsource their thinking, not to copy what others do, just because it is common. He wrote, "If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer." That drummer, he believed, was the voice of the soul. To follow it, you must be quiet enough to hear. To hear it, You must be brave enough to be still. Thoreau's life at Walden was not a retreat from reality. It was a return to what is real. And though nearly 2 centuries have passed since he walked those quiet trails, his lessons are more relevant than ever. In a world driven by urgency, noise, and endless consumption, his choice to simplify feels like a radical act, but it is also an invitation, not to give up life, but to fully reclaim it. Today, minimalism has become a trend in many circles. But for Thoreau, it was never about aesthetics. It was not about clean white walls or curated wardrobes. It was about essence, living with less not for appearance, but for truth. To remove anything that blocks your clarity, wastes your energy, or distracts you from what truly matters. He would ask, "What do you really need?" Not what society tells you, not what advertisements sell you, but you, the person underneath the rules and the rushing. What makes you feel alive? What gives you peace? What makes you proud to be yourself? Minimalism, in the Thoreauvian sense, is not about owning less. It is about needing less. It is about discovering that joy comes not from having, but from being. Not from controlling life, but from entering it fully, just as it is. He teaches that true freedom is not the ability to buy anything, but the ability to walk away from anything. To say no to things that burden you. To live unburdened, not because you ran away, but because you became clear. You learned to see, to choose. This way of life is not easy. It asks for honesty. It asks you to face the clutter, not just in your house, but in your heart, the expectations you carry, the comparisons you make, the beliefs you inherited but never questioned. To live simply, you must live awake. But in that wakefulness, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to feel connected to the natural world. To walk without rushing. To eat with gratitude. To sleep without anxiety. To stop living as a reaction, and begin living as a response. Thoreau wrote, "Our life is frittered away by detail. Simplify, simplify, and in doing so, we return to something we forgot. That life is not about getting somewhere. It is about being here, now, with presence, with honesty, with soul." Thank you for walking this quiet path with us through the words and wisdom of Henry David Thoreau. His cabin may be gone, but the door to simplicity is still open, for anyone willing to step away from the noise and listen inward. So here is our question for you. What is one thing in your life you know you can let go of? Starting today? Share it in the comments. Let us build a space where less is not emptiness, but clarity. And if this message brought peace to your day, subscribe, like, and stay connected with us here on the Life Philosophy channel. Because this is not just about Thoreau. It is about you, your time, your truth, your life. Until next time, stay simple, stay grounded, and return often to what is real.